academia full of rejection. There's a 90% rejection rate for every paper you submit. And when you're working on a project, you are working on it for years. Years. There's a project I'm working on now that I started, I think, in 2006. I'm not even going to do the math of how long that has been. And it's been rejected 4 times, maybe 5.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Living Boldly, where we find the courage to confront our limitations and create the life of our dreams. I'm excited to bring on our guest who helped me navigate a season where I was feeling overwhelmed and also trying to balance out the demands of business school. So from trying to recruit for a job to also pursuing academic excellence and managing leadership positions across different clubs, and also managing my relationships, new and old ones. I definitely felt like I was drowning, and her personal story inspired me. Our guest is Professor Modupe Akinola, who is the only Black tenured professor here at Columbia Business School. Yay. She's also the host for the TED Business podcast, and she received the Dean's Award for Academic Excellence in 2015. Her research explores the effect of stress on personal and organizational performance. She also does work on workforce diversity. Some of her journals and research have been put in media outlets like the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, The Economist, to mention a few. Most recently, and very exciting to me, was the fact that she was Chris Hemsworth's stress coach on the Nat Geo series Limitless. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for making the time. I know that we tried to do this a few times and then there was scheduling issues and stuff, but I'm happy that this is finally happening.
Me too. I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here.
And I mean, just like going from your profile, right, and all the things that you're involved in, right, and I mean, going also to my personal conversation with you when I was going through that phase of my life, right? I think one thing that's important to know is like, how do you thrive across all these different roles that you play?
It makes me smile to say thrive because every day I'm kind of like, I'm barely holding on. Am I thriving? One of the things that helps me is that I've gotten better at saying no. I have recruited dear friends of mine and collaborators, and we have what we call a no club. Mm-hmm. So if something comes my way and I'm not sure whether or not to do it, I send it to them and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I should do this. Here's the upside. Here's the downside. Or sometimes it's just like, not sure if I should do this.
Yeah.
And they'll share their thoughts. And what's fascinating is, A, it makes me feel comfortable with my no's. Mm-hmm. B, I do the same for them. And so when I notice how quick I am to tell them no about things, then it makes it easier for me to be like no about some of the requests that come my way. So a no club is how I try to keep things together. But I feel right now in general, I feel like I'm failing at thriving under the stress, or rather I am not caring for myself as much as I need to and getting the rest I need to. So I need to do some more self-examination to fix that.
I think sometimes when one is busy with like all of the things that one is busy doing, just like trying to get things done on their to-do list, I see how like one can quickly put like self-care at the bottom of that list, right? I mean, and now you just talked about like you're like not necessarily doing as much as you would want to do in the area of self-care. How do you think one can navigate that and maybe prioritize or at least find some balance?
I'll tell you the funny story is, so I just renovated one of my bathrooms and I was like, I want a soaking tub and it's the best soaking tub ever. And I realized I hadn't made time to actually get in the soaking tub.
Yeah.
And then I got in it and I was kind of like, this is all nice, but I could be clean in 15 minutes in the shower. Like, this is a waste of my time. Like, what could I be doing? I could be doing so many other things. So I took all of the relaxation out of it. And so I said to myself, wow, you can't even give yourself 30 minutes. You're always thinking about what should I be doing? What could I be doing instead? And so I have a writing coach who I meet with once a month. And I kind of told her the tub story, and she was kind of like, all right, so what are you telling yourself when you're in there? And so we did this whole diagnosis of it. And so I have some work that I need to do about the messages that I tell myself.
And just listening to you reminds me of the process that I'm going through now with like recruiting here at Columbia. And I think that one of the devastating things that happens while recruiting is also getting a lot of rejections from companies, right? And dealing with that can be, it's a gamut of emotions, right?
Yeah.
So there are times where I remember the most recent one, I got it while I was in class and the class was going on. I already tuned off. I was no longer listening.
You shouldn't have been checking your texts and your emails in class. That's why. Maybe if you had waited. Okay. Sorry, the professor and me has to, make a comment about that.
But I mean, I kind of went through that. I was supposed to like meet up with friends right after. I was no longer in the mood to do that. And I got home and the first thing I did was I just cried, right? Because it was overwhelming. It was very sad. And I kind of just like, I just cried. I called my mom, and my mom helped like with talking. But also I just find that going through that as well, there's just also messaging in one's head where it's just like, oh, is it that I'm not good enough? Like, why didn't I get the job? Da, 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 da. And so I go through that and eventually, after mourning, for want of a better word, I felt better and kind of just picked myself up and continued like to apply and things like that.
Yeah.
But, when one is going through that, and you might also have experiences where obviously it's different for you, but like, how does one manage the thoughts in one's head as one goes through like difficult situations?
I don't force myself to have a timeline. Like, you need to get over this by tomorrow. You need to feel better. Like, we often do that. And I've said, no, well, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better. Maybe I'll feel sad again. That's okay. And what you realize over time is you have an aha day where you're like, oh, I'm not sad today. Huh. Imagine that. I thought I'd be sad forever.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Be in the moment. Be present with that emotion. You were given it for a reason, and then see how it emerges. I also like to think about the positives in situations. So when you flip it, okay, well, what did I learn from this situation? How did I grow, or how am I going to grow from this loss? And often, not getting a job or something like that, the growth is you realize you're resilient. I also think a big part of not getting everything, you're in fancy Columbia Business School, you've gotten a lot, you're in your life to get here. When you don't get something, it allows you to be more connected with humanity, because there are tons of people who on a daily basis get rejected from something.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I'll share a couple of my experiences with rejection and how I dealt. Academia, full of rejection. There's a 90% rejection rate for every paper you submit. And when you're working on a project, you are working on it for years. Years. There's a project I'm working on now that I started, I think, in 2006. I'm not even going to do the math of how long that has been.
Yeah.
And it's been rejected 4 times, maybe 5, a lot of times. And I just had to say, okay, I had to build my self-confidence about my work. This work is good. It's going to find a home. You're amazing. Your qualifications are excellent. You're going to find the right place. This place wasn't for you. When one door closes, many open. Yeah. So what are some mantras you can tell yourself in those moments to remind yourself, like, it's going to be all right? It really is.
You already talked about like community and the role that they play, right? So, you talked about your community that helps you say no, but just more broadly, like, how should one approach like even the people that one surrounds themselves with as they do this work on themselves and, try to get like the positive mindset?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing is sometimes you don't want the positive mindset, by the way. So with your community, you need to pause and say, well, what do I need from my community? Like right now in this moment, when I haven't gotten this job or didn't get blah, 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 what do I need? Some days you just need someone to vent with you. Like, so, I'm how many years out of business school now? 22 years out of business school. And the thing that is, that people 22 years out, just so you'll know for the future, it's about like board seats. Are you on corporate boards? Like and by the way, I'm one of those people that's like, I'm amazing and there's a board that wants me, so whatever. I'm not going to be thirsty for a board seat. Yeah. I have lots of friends who are thirsty for a board seat. And there were a couple that were interested in me and I didn't end up getting them. And so I had to just kind of remind myself, okay, whatever, but it's all good. But I needed to talk to a friend who was going to be like, yeah, they're stupid. They don't know what they're missing.
Yes.
They're idiots. Whatever, please. Do they know who Modupe is? So like that, sometimes you need that kind of friend.
Yeah.
Other times you need the friend who is going to be like, okay, I'm just going to sit and listen and not say a word.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a friend who is going to be more positive and upbeat, or the friend who's just going to vent with you.
You're so correct. I remember listening to, I think it was Mel Robbins, and she's like, usually when people come to her, she's usually quick to give advice, and then something that she learned is people kind of need different things when they come to you. So she then asks, like, what do you need? Do you need my opinion, or do you need me to just listen?
Yes.
And so maybe that's something that even I would begin to do, as opposed to like quickly like offering like advice or whatever. But just around like either like academics or career excellence, I think that one thing that for me I do is, I'm always striving for the next thing, trying to accomplish the next big thing, and that keeps me really busy, right? More recently, I think I've started to just relax a little bit and just like chill. But I also wonder, like, at what point is just work getting in the way of reflecting inwards and, kind of just doing what needs to be done to thrive.
Work is a great self-procrastination tool, because you feel like you're being productive in something that matters. But I think we need to be the most productive in the self-awareness. And so, I think we all pour ourselves into our work or into our kids or into this, that, the other thing without stepping back and pouring back into us.
Yeah.
And so I'm a big believer in therapy. Like, give yourself that hour a week. And I feel like in probably between 2014 and 16, I was in that mode where I felt like I had everything that I wanted, or most of the things that I wanted in life, my partner and we were kind of like miserable. Or that, miserable is a strong word, but we just weren't happy. It felt like, and so that's when I was like, okay, well, what kind of week-long program can I go to like discover myself? And so I went to this thing called the Hoffman Institute. He did too. And then, I have an acupuncturist who, although we focus on acupuncture, she really also helps me with the psychology, the things that I'm wrestling with in my mind. Then I ended up adopting a meditation practice because I realized I really need to clear my mind at times, because the busy doesn't stop to be still. And sometimes you need to be still to get the channels and the answers that you need.
And speaking of self-work, right, for me, something that I do is, I even have an acronym that I picked from someone, I don't remember who now. It's called SAVERS, right? So it's silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, and reading.
Nice.
But I think also there's something to say about consistency with like doing those practices for it to then become effective, I would say. And yes, there are times when I'm like, consistent with it. I do it like for weeks. And then there are times when I fall off the wagon, right? And so like, to what point does one, I would say, have to maybe commit to this for one to remember to like going through some of these techniques when one is maybe stressed about something or, just going through a tough time?
What I can speak to is what makes me or helps me in being consistent.
Yeah.
I am a generally consistent person, so I have to say it's a little bit easier for me. I like structure. I like schedule. I like all of that stuff. Yeah. So I naturally will be like, I haven't exercised in a minute. I need to get my life together. Yeah. I need to do it, and I will do it. And when I fall off, though, I also need to learn to be gentle with myself.
Yeah.
It's okay. You had a week. Today, I was supposed to do a 45-minute Peloton ride. Did that happen? No. Did I work out yesterday? No. Do I have a busy weekend where I'm going to be able to work out? Yes, it's busy, so I'm not going to be able to work out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I will get back to it when the time comes. So being gentle with myself, which is something I need. Other people might not need to be gentle with themselves. Other people need an accountability partner to be like, you didn't go yesterday, or let's go. We're going to go for a walk. So this is, again, I'm emphasizing you need to know what is right for you. And for me, the discipline is there. So I just need to do it when I need to. But I also need to be gentle with myself, because I will run myself ragged and be exercising at like midnight when I need to sleep because I didn't do it that one day. No, that's problematic. So learning what habits work for you. And if it's not working, then that says you need to try something else. Like, we need to practice things and test them out to figure
Yeah.
out what works best for us. And I'm also, with my meditation practice, I'm a morning person. If I try to leave it
too.
till the afternoon or the evening, it's not
Doesn't
going to
happen,
happen.
yeah.
So I need to know, okay, but that came from testing it out, testing out some afternoons, testing out some evenings, and then realizing, nope, every morning I will wake up an hour earlier than I'm supposed to or than I need to because I need to squeeze this in that. So know thyself.
I've just found that there's not really been anything that has happened easily, right? Like there's nothing I'm trying to accomplish that has just been like easy, right? So, just and again, like we're also in a phase where there's a lot, everybody's like pursuing like, I don't want any stress, if it doesn't work for me, it's like cancel culture. Like everybody kind of just wants some ease with regards to the things that they're pursuing. But I've just found like, I don't know if that's possible, right? So, I mean, what has been your experience with like making tough decisions for the things that you want, or like creating even boundaries around like the things that you want to accomplish?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the accomplishments that I'm the most proud of came with stress. So this idea that we should try not to be stressed or try, like, that's a piece of why I study stress, because I think we have these old notions about what stress is, whether it's good or bad, all that. And instead it's like, well, many of us can thrive or have thrived under stress. We are here because there was some type of stressful situation that allowed us to kind of rise to the occasion. So I kind of think of it as, okay, I'm going to have these moments. What's on the other side of it? What's on the other side? And then what's the opportunity inherent in it? So when I teach about stress, I often say, like, yeah, this is going to be hard. And so how can you prepare yourself? Like, okay, this is going to be a hard charge. When I was going up for tenure, it was like, this is going to be a rough 2 years as I need to get this publication done and that done. All right, we've got this. Buckle in, buckle up. It's not going to be easy. Preparing your mind for it then as it was happening, made it a little bit easier to deal with. That's not to say it wasn't tough, but at least you're prepared. And I mean, this idea of doing things with ease, I think as we become experts or better or have more experience with things, they become easier.
But is there also a place where it's also about doing something that you love?
Yeah.
Where it's like, yes, it's hard and difficult, but it's also the kind of difficulty that you enjoy, like you don't mind doing.
Yeah.
And sort of like, how do you, because also there are people who are probably pursuing things that don't give them any satisfaction or any fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
And so they're putting in that work. How do you separate that? How do you pursue a life of meaning where, it's work, but it's work that you enjoy, or it's work that you don't mind doing, even if it's difficult?
Happiness is the frequency, not the intensity of like positive versus negative affect. And so if you're working at a job or doing something where the positives do not outweigh the negatives, where you're feeling more negative emotion most of the time than you are positive emotion, then that needs to be a signal saying, yeah, I'm not sure this is right for me. And we need to be very courageous in terms of getting ourselves into situations where the positives and the positive mood that you generate outweighs the negative moments. Because every job's going to have negatives.
Yeah.
But how can you make sure that those negatives are fewer and farther between?
Yeah, and speaking about like emotions, and from your story that I've read, first of like here in Colombia, you're the only Black tenured professor, right? And that means that there are probably spaces where you're the only Black person there. And I know that even like through your, I think, high school, you were also maybe the only Black student there. So like I think that you've been put in situations where you're different, but I guess also you've also had to find the strength to maybe find your voice and thrive in those situations. So what were those experiences like for you, and how did you find your voice?
Yeah, so I've usually been in environments where maybe there was a handful of Black people, but not very many. And I feel like how did I develop confidence around? I feel like I developed confidence around the value I have to add, that my perspective matters, and that I'm in the room for a reason. And, one of the things, some tools I would do to make sure that my voice was heard, because believe it or not, people are like, oh, I'm actually an introvert. No one really understands that, but I am an introvert. I generate energy from being alone. I do like people, and that introverted does not mean you don't enjoy being around people.
Yeah.
I like them, but they drain my energy. And so in group meetings, I'd be nervous to speak up. So I'd always come in with a couple of points that I wanted to say. I'd always remind myself, if I don't say something in this meeting, then I might as well not have been here. So I'm going to say something because they need to know that this little black girl was up in the room and had interesting things to say.
I feel like we can tell when we can be more. Like there's a nudging inside of us that lets us know that, you can be better than this. You can achieve even more than this. And leaning in, even when we're scared, I think is something that, I've started to practice, right? It's not the most comfortable thing, but when I get that nudging, I kind of put myself there. So if I didn't used to speak in a certain class before, now, whether I'm familiar with the topic or not, I at least try to share what my perspectives are.
Right.
Because I know that getting into business school, one of the things that I struggled with initially, because my background is not necessarily, the regular, the business background and whatever. Mine was entertainment. Was really settling into some of those classes that I wasn't very familiar with. But, moving forward from those, I've kind of continued to challenge myself, because I just think that throughout life, there would always be those situations where you're not necessarily an expert, right? You won't always be in rooms where the subject matter is one that you've done some research on, or, you've encountered before. But then I guess standing up and pushing oneself little by little, I would say, like not trying to do the most initially, but I guess just with little steps. I wonder what your own experience has been in terms of maybe trying to break new grounds in an area that you are not very familiar with, but still trying to navigate.
I make sure that I am wearing an outfit that makes me feel like amazing.
I can attest to your fashionable, your sense of fashion.
So, thank you. If I'm going into an environment that's new, like, I'm gonna look good, because when I look good, then I feel like, okay, I want to speak up. I want to, there's a confidence that comes with that. And then I do a lot of just do my work in advance. What do I need to know about these people to be able to feel comfortable? And I'm a person that I study people. So once I learn a couple of tidbits about somebody that I'm meeting with, and it's a point of connection, that already loosens me up. So I do my work and I do my homework and I try my best to know a little something so that I don't have those awkward conversations. Now, the flip side of all of this is sometimes you can work too hard and do too much. And so I'm now trying to learn that balance of like, guess what? Even if I didn't do my work and came up in there, I'll have something great to say because I've done this for decades. I'm good. So there comes a time where you need to learn what's right for you. The other thing about being the only in environments is then you get in your head, I have to say something, I have to say something, I have to say something. And I've learned to be like, no, I'm not saying anything. My presence is enough. My presence is enough. They are getting me up in here and looking cute like
good
this.
Enough.
That's good enough. And I didn't feel like saying anything. So let me not be so hard on myself. In terms of the pressure I put on myself when I'm in an environment because I'm the only or whatever. So over time, it becomes, how do I need to modulate, and what's becoming a bad habit that was started as a good one. That's why I said it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey.
And I guess where you are now is just like talking about balancing it all out, right? So where it's like, you know when to be easy on yourself, you know when to push yourself. And I guess that brings me to self-compassion, right? Like how does one practice self-compassion where, you're doing just what you need per time, not overly like pushing yourself off the cuff?
Yeah, I'm working on that. I will share with you my new phrase. It's actually not new. It's 3 years old. I can't believe I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this widely. So my phrase is, my inner child has a tiger mom and it's me. Okay, like just pause. That's very deep. I just want you to let that all soak in.
I'm taking it in.
My inner child has a tiger mom and it's me. So for me, self-compassion means that I need to let go of that tiger mom that is trying to tell the person inside me that really wants to play, that really wants to sleep, that really wants to relax, that doesn't want to go the extra mile to like play. And so self-compassion is saying, stop. Nope, I'm not listening to you, tiger mom. I'm not listening.
Not today, Tiger
not
Mom.
not today.
today.
Bye, Felicia. Whatever. To that person inside me
Yeah.
that won't allow me to be my full self. So that is practicing self-compassion for me.
I know you talk a lot about like just ways one can manage stress. And if you could just, share a few of that for anyone who's stressed right now, like how can they deal with that?
Yeah. So the first step is just acknowledging your stress.
Yeah.
So many times when we're stressed, we're like, would you tell somebody or whatever, and you're like, I'm not stressed. Oh, I'm fine. I'm not really stressed. Am I really stressed? I'm not stressed. No, if you're stressed, you might be stressed. So just notice it. All right, I'm stressed right now.
Yeah.
Then ask yourself, like, what do I need? What do I need?
That's so important.
Yeah. What do I need? Sometimes you need a nap. Sometimes you need to really continue doing that work and do all you need to address and have your skills ready for whatever you're stressed about.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes you just need to breathe.
Yes.
Often I find myself like when I walked up in here, I've had a crazy day that was not supposed to be the day that I was supposed to have.
Yeah.
That's okay. And I just sat here, you might have noticed, and I just breathed a little bit to just get myself present.
Yeah.
Another thing that I talk about on Limitless is positive self-talk.
Yeah.
When that thing is telling you like, you should do more, you're not enough or whatever, just be like, no, you're being courageous, you're strong, you've got this. So those are some tools that I would say. And sometimes if you ask yourself what you need, sometimes you need a friend, sometimes you need a drink. No, sometimes you need... Sometimes it's true. Sometimes you need whatever you need.
Yes.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah.
By the way. Yeah. So those are some tips that I would suggest to anyone who is feeling stressed right now.
Yeah, I completely agree because more recently, as I've gotten to know myself, I found that I need different things at different times. Sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed or just stressed, some of the things that have worked for me is going out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going for a party. Sometimes it's just calling loved ones and just having like really long conversations. So I hear you when you say like, just listen to yourself and listen to what. Sometimes it's just journaling and I'm okay. Like all I need to do is write down like my thoughts, my emotions at the time, and I feel much better. I definitely agree that listening to oneself is super important.
And I mean, I think it's the foundation of understanding that your joy and your happiness can come from no one but you.
Yeah.
We too often look to outside sources for our happiness, for our joy, to reduce our stress. No. It's all here.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to either at some age maybe blame it on parents and then at some point blame it on partners. But ultimately, like, I'm responsible for my happiness.
Yeah. And you're responsible for your crazy too.
Yeah, so
responsible for it all.
All of it.
All of it.
And I think self-acceptance is also like an important part of that. Like, before one can even show compassion, I think that it's also important to like accept oneself fully and wholly, like the past, the good, the bad, like even the things that even you kind of cringe at. I'm just like, so that's something that I've also done with myself, and just like in working on myself as well, is accepting all of who I am.
Yes.
The mistakes that I've made, my story, where I'm from, like who I am. Just accepting all of it, and also knowing that all of those things don't also define where I'm going or define who I want. Like I can decide right this minute the kind of person that I want to be and do the work to show up as that person. So I guess it's removing the I would say like getting rid of whatever ceiling that I had placed on myself based on either things I had gone through, experiences, and just knowing that actually it's all dependent on me.
The phrase, I guess, a couple of years ago that I started saying in those moments was like, I'm perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
I am perfectly imperfect. So that was one of them. As you can tell, I have a lot of phrases that kind of go through my mind. And that's been super helpful for me.
I remember us talking, and I was talking about like, being busy and stuff like that. And you said like one of the decisions that you made was like, oh, you didn't want to have children, right? And for me, it's like, that is so, for me, I was just wowed because like, I think that's not a popular opinion. No. It's not also an opinion people would share because like generally, especially from where I'm from, Nigeria, what? That's, so for me, I was just like in awe of that because it takes knowing yourself. It takes knowing
Yes.
what you want to be able to make, like, so how did you even like come
Yeah,
to
I mean,
that?
it's so funny you mentioned you're Nigerian. My parents are from West Africa, Nigeria, Togo,
Yes.
Ghana. And when I shared it with my parents, so I remember talking to my mom and telling her, okay, we're not going to have kids, and we realize we'll be happier without kids. Although, the big realization is you can be happy with or without kids.
Yeah.
You can be happy with or without that job. You can
Yes.
be happy with or without anything. Like everything, you need to create your happiness.
Yes.
And the first thing she said was, and I said, well, why do you want us to have kids so badly? And she was like, because we're African. I was like, well, that is not a good enough reason, Mom. You
Yeah.
got to come up with something more. And by the way, you have 6 grandkids, so already. So why do you need? And
More.
by the way, and you complain about my sisters and their kids. So why do you want another set of kids to
Yeah.
complain about and whatever? And over time, we just kind of realized like we are busy, 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 busy. We love to be busy, 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 and that with this life that I really enjoyed,
Yeah.
to be able to have the capacity to fully live in it, being who I am,
Yeah.
it meant choosing not to have kids. And I always joke, like, we're not stupid. Like, I have option value. Like, they're frozen eggs and frozen
Yes,
this and
there are
embryos
options.
and, like,
Yeah.
everything, just in case, I don't know, the
Yeah.
world might fall apart and that's all that's left. Like, that's a little joke. At least that, now. But it was the best decision I ever made. And it was really hard, though, because there's so many, woman means having a child, means mother.
Yeah.
And so like letting go of that and being like, no, I'm still an amazing woman, but child free. And then also people say like childless. No, I'm not childless. I'm child free. Even just reframing that.
Yes.
And realizing there are some conversations that I'm not really a part of. Like, I'm not going to be chatting about like we were in the park on the swings with it, and another sign to me that I was kind of just doing what I thought I was supposed to do, or we thought we were on a journey where we were doing what we were supposed to do, was like I had never changed a niece or nephew's diaper. I have 5 nieces and a nephew, and I had never changed a diaper and had no interest. Like maybe we'd gone to the park once, that's not like.
That's not what you're about.
That's not what I'm about. And then you go through like, well, what kind of woman am I? Then I don't want,
Yeah.
So it took a lot. A lot. And I did not know any women
who
made that choice.
Yeah. That's why when you said that
I
to me.
knew people who never wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
I knew couples who couldn't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know any who could and chose not to. So we were kind of like, well, we'll be role models on that.
Yeah.
And show people that you can be happy in any state. It's a choice.
Yes.
It's a choice. So yeah, and it was a move of courage. And I have no regrets. My ex-husband and I we were spending time last month, and we both had a moment we were like, we made the best decision for each other, like high five, and it was right for us. It's not right for everybody, but sometimes you need to really dig inside, and that's that self-awareness that helps you realize. And let me tell you, there are a couple of like amazing decisions I made in my life. One was to leave consulting to be an academic.
Yeah.
One was to grow dreadlocks. Because another was to not have kids. And I just came back from Rwanda over spring break. I did a Rwanda GIP.
Woo.
And I said to them, like, that choice
Yeah.
helped me have the capacity to
do what you were
love
doing.
in a way that I wouldn't have been able to love, to open my heart up in a way that I would have probably not had the capacity to do. And for that, I'm so grateful. So
thank you so much for sharing. And thank you for listening and watching this. I hope that you've also learned and gotten insights for how to live not stress-free life, but at least how to manage your stress and put it to good use. Professor Modupe has shared a lot of nuggets and a lot of like mantras that I feel like would serve me, and I hope they serve you too. Don't forget to drop your comments in the comment section, and also don't forget to subscribe and share. Thank you for watching. Ciao.